What if Deku unlocked the ultimate power of banishing magic? With abilities beyond one for all, he steps into a world of demons and heroes. How would this change his destiny? Let's dive in. A green-haired family is seen walking down a hospital hallway to find out their eldest son's quirk. Izuku, Mom, do you think my quirk is as strong as All Might's or Dad's? The little boy said excitedly. Inko, calm down Izuku, we'll find out, for now help me carry one of your brothers. Midoriya family, please come to the doctor's office. The family passed by and met the doctor. Inko, good afternoon, doctor. Doctor, good afternoon Mrs. Midoriya, if you allow me, I can take the little one to do some tests. Inko, of course doctor, Izuku give me your little brother, he did what his mother told him. Meanwhile with Izuku. Izuku, doctor, do you think you have a good quirk? He said, excited to know what his quirk was. Doctor, I don't know, we'll see. Poor boy doesn't have a quirk. After a few minutes the doctor will give the results to Mrs. Midoriya. Doctor, I have bad news said the doctor as he walked out with Izuku. Inko, what happened doctor? Doctor, unfortunately your son doesn't have a quirk. Leaving the mother and Izuku in shock, to which the mother asks the doctor again. Doctor, sigh as I heard, the little one doesn't have a quirk. Inko, okay doctor, we removed them, she said with a cold look. Which shocked the doctor. Doctor, poor boy, I hope nothing bad happens to him. At the Midoriya house. When we arrived, the first thing I heard after closing the door was a knock from his mother, while she was holding his brothers. Izuku, Mom, why are you hitting me? He said crying. Inko, shut up, I'm not your mother. Izuku's father, upon hearing this scandal, asks what is happening. Inko tells him and his father gets angry. Hisashi, go to your room now, useless, I don't want to see you. Izuku, why are you calling me useless? Tell me Ma he couldn't finish because he received a blow from his mother and father. Inko, we already told you to go to your fucking useless room. Izuku after hearing those words ran to his room and when he arrived he started crying. A few months passed where his friends had found out that he was quirkless, except for 3 people Bakugo, Todoroki, and Kirishima. Note, I thought I'd have them meet earlier. Boy 1, look who we have here, the useless quirkless. Boy 2, wow, he's the useless one. Boy 3, he will always be useless. Izuku, please leave me he said with fear. After they hit him several times and left the place, the green-haired man woke up very hurt. At the Midoriya house. Izuku, I'm here. Izuku didn't expect to receive a huge blow to the head from his father that would knock him unconscious. Hisashi, well we've completed the Inko part of the plan. Inko, yes, now let's take him to the forest and leave him to his fate. After 1 hour Hisashi took Izuku to the forest and threw him away. Meanwhile in Izuku's mind. Apparently you are my reincarnation. Izuku, who are you? He said, scared by that voice. Am Basara Tojo. Izuku, where am I? Whined around him that was totally dark. Basara, we are in your mind. Izuku, my mind? Basara, yes, here time passes differently than in the real world he said simply. Izuku, and what are you doing in my mind? He said with great doubt. Basara, you are my reincarnation. Izuku, oh, seriously I'm your reincarnation. Basara, yes, and I'm going to train you to master my powers and be able to protect them. Izuku, them? I asked curiously. Basara, yes, I don't know when you will be able to meet her or maybe they will never meet he said while sighing. Izuku, and how will I control your power if I'm just a child? He said with sadness in his eyes. Basara, calm down, but you shouldn't tell me your name first while letting out a laugh. Izuku, ah, I forgot, I'm Izuku Mito. I'm Izuku he said with great sadness in his voice. Basara noticed, but he didn't want to ask about it. Basara, well first we will improve your physique and I will teach you how to create a weapon so you can hunt animals to eat. Izuku, okay, Basara sensei. Basara, you can call me Basara, without any honorific. Izuku, okay Basara, how will I start my training? Basara, first you will start with 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, 25 squats and run 2 kilometers a day for a month you will do this training. Izuku, understood Basara. So a month passed, Izuku had already gotten used to the training, which is why Basara decided to increase the training. Basara, now Izuku, you will do 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 50 squats and run 6 kilometers a day for 8 months. Time skip of 8 months. Izuku can be seen doing his daily exercise, while Basara thinks about how to mentally train him. In Izuku's mind. Basara, hey Izuku, I never asked you, but why were you in this forest? He said curiously. Izuku, my family abandoned me here for not having a quirk, saying that I was useless. I hope the same thing doesn't happen to my brothers. Basara, do you have siblings? Izuku, yes, a sister and a brother, their names are Izumi and Takagi. Basara, that's great, I hope the reunion is good. Izuku, I didn't create it, surely my ex-parents will tell him that they had a useless brother and if they see me they will surely attack me, he said with some annoyance. Basara, well now we will begin with your mental training, where you can control your emotions and your power does not get out of control. Izuku, and what kind of training will it be? Diaresis, he asked with doubt and getting a little scared by Basara's serious face. Basara, I will make you live again what your parents did, but remember Izuku, don't let yourself be controlled by any emotion. Izuku, okay, I'll do it, everything will be fine, don't worry. Basara, well let's start, in that they put everything that his parents did to him. Izuku felt sad, angry at everything his parents did to him, but he had to face it in order to control his emotions. So 6 months passed since Izuku's mental training, now Izuku was more serious and hardly showed his emotions to avoid problems. Basara, I think this is enough, you are now ready for the real training. Izuku, real training? I ask with confusion. Basara, it's time to teach you how to take out Brunhilde. Izuku, Brunhilde, is that the name of your weapon? Basara, yes, Brunhilde is a cursed demonic sword, it has only had 2 wielders, Sato and Basara Tojo, that is, me. Izuku, incredible, and I will be able to carry that sword? Basara, sure, that's why I'll teach you. What you have to do is imagine that you are wielding the sword. Izuku was imagining he could get Brunhilde out, but he couldn't hold her for long. Basara, at first it is not easy to summon her or make her manifest. Izuku, yes, it seems like it's a bit complicated, but I feel it's light, it must be because of the training. Basara, correct, I preferred to prepare you physically and mentally first to better control Brunhilde's power. 2-year time skip. A 7-year-old boy can be seen training with a sword, making different cuts in the air. Izuku, this is exhausting, I think I can now handle Brunhilde more easily and it is not so complicated for me, he said while sighing from exhaustion. Basara, I see that you already control Brunhilde perfectly, so let's move on to the other training of my skills, I will explain them to you. Banishing shift. This technique allows the user to increase their physical and magical abilities at any moment, as if it were a power-up. It also allows them the ability to eliminate other types of attacks and living beings. Fundamentally, the power manifests itself in the form of a curved sword, a flame or energy of fluorescent green color that shows that said power is activated. Basically, the power manifests itself in the form of a curved sword, a flame or energy of fluorescent green color that shows that said power is activated. Banishing Armor 1. As the name suggests, this is the first transformation and armor of the Banishing Shift magic. You can summon both metal-shaped gauntlets or metal-shaped boots. You can also create a curved sword with a green core at the bottom of its blade. Said sword will have the ability to eliminate other types of powers, repel magic, enchantments, curses, and can be used as a defensive weapon, since said sword cannot be destroyed by anything or anyone, because it is a sacred and unique weapon in life. Banishing Armor 2. The second transformation consists mainly of a complete silver and black armor. This armor can be used if the user accumulates all his energy in all parts of his body. He will adopt an increase in his physical capabilities, whether strength, resistance or speed, and will receive an increase in his magic power, making his technique stronger and other things. The armor in its second phase will make some of the user's locks and eyes turn completely green, but with a more picturesque tone, his armor will cover his entire body. It must be said that the handling and control of his sword will improve, along with the hardness of his said armor. The latter, if broken or cut, will take only a few seconds to completely regenerate. The latter, if broken or cut, will take only a few seconds to completely regenerate. Banishing Full Complete. To achieve this transformation, the user must accumulate all his energy and power 100% throughout his body. He must also eliminate the fear he has about his sword in order to achieve this last form. After having done the above, the armor will evolve and it will have a white color and a red core throughout his chest. The user's hair will turn green in its entirety as well as his 2 eyes. Also, this power will increase all his capabilities and his level and handling with the sword will be abysmal when it comes to fighting. This power will also increase all of your abilities, and your level and swordplay will be abysmal when it comes to combat. Shift power. This power allows him to perform numerous techniques and attacks, most of which are fully and fundamentally related to his sacred sword. This sword has the unique ability to repel, eliminate and block any type of magic/enchantment/curse and energy. Shift bomb. It consists of the user making a dry cut on the surface or place he wants. After a few seconds of executing the cut, it will generate an enormous greenish explosion. The bigger the cut, the greater the power of the explosion caused. Also, if cuts are created in the air, these cuts can become spheres that will later explode. Shift thrust. This technique consists fundamentally in covering the legs and the sword with energy. After carrying out these actions, the latter will generate a strong impulse that will allow him to arrive in a matter of seconds in front of his enemy. Once there, he will release a powerful stab that will generate an enormously large shock wave. It should also be said that said impulse will generate a large green explosion that will leave several burns and damages on the body of those affected. This impulse will generate a large green explosion that will leave several burns and damage to the bodies of those affected. Shift Dunguro. This technique consists of accumulating a large amount of energy in his sword and releasing a huge greenish mass made of pure shift energy. In addition, this attack will eliminate any other that may cross its path. However, it can only be used once due to the great magic consumption that it entails. The high magic consumption involved in performing it. Axis Step. The Axis Step consists of covering the user's entire body with a green aura of shift. This action will allow him to move at extremely high speeds. This speed at which he can move easily exceeds Mach 15 times the speed of sound. This ability can only be used in cases of danger or extreme importance. His body will also receive an increase in terms of its physical capabilities, adding that the user's eyes will turn completely green and his hair will stand up. Your body will also receive an increase in its physical capabilities, adding that the user's eyes will turn completely green and their hair will stand up. Pink Shift. This technique consists of his aura, which was normally green, turning into a rather picturesque pink color. This aura will cause his magic power and sword attack power to increase considerably. It can be said that a direct blow from the sword with this aura could even cut a mountain in half, clearly costing him a huge amount of magic power to be able to do it successfully. Replica Eye. With this ability, he can copy a skill and implant it in his sword so that he can use it only once. It is only effective if the power is activated in the right eye, which turns a rather picturesque green color with a hue similar to fluorine or neon. He must observe the attack for 25 seconds, the magic/attack, to copy it successfully and without failure when casting it. You must observe the attack for 25 seconds, the magic/attack to copy it successfully and without failure when casting it. Ability to levitate. This peculiar ability consumes almost no magical energy, so he can use it often without having problems or side effects on his body. He also uses round-shaped seals as a kind of platform to move around and navigate through different places. Increased physical capabilities. He can smash extremely strong things with just one of his fists, and he also has a very refined and well-implemented fighting style. He also has formidable resistance, all due to the fact that he is completely used to receiving blows, and has great speed and enviable agility compared to other people. He can move so fast that it gives the impression that he is teleporting short distances. Basara, well, those are the skills I'm going to teach you, he said calmly. Meanwhile, Izuku assimilated all the information that Basara told him. Izuku, there are many, but I will learn and master them all. Time skip of 7 years. A young brown-haired man with green locks can be seen practicing with his sword and doing his daily routine. Izuku, I have mastered almost all the skills, except Banishing full complete. Basara, yes, Izuku, it's been 10 years since I started training you and look at you, you're strong, but you lack fighting experience. Izuku, yes, but I think I can do something before becoming a hero, be a vigilante for 2 years. Basara, well Izuku, I'll have to go, promise me that if you meet them, you'll protect them. Izuku, please don't go Basara. Basara, I'm sorry Izuku, I already trained you and taught you everything I know, but promise me that you will do what I told you. Izuku, if I promise, in that case I will be called Izuku Tojo. Basara, okay, but remember with great power comes great responsibility. A brown-haired man can be seen sitting on top of a building looking into the distance, when he hears a girl calling for help. Girl, help! Screams, she's a little scared. Man 1, shut up, "We're not going to do anything bad to you," he said with a smile that scared the girl. "Yes, we just want to have some fun with you." "Man 2, we better hurry before a hero arrives," he said a little desperate. Izuku, seeing that, was only upset by what the men were doing, so he decided to help the girl, but he didn't expect to meet a heroine. Izuku, arriving where the guys were without them noticing, said, "Izuku, how disgusting people like you are with a neutral face." "Man 1, who are you?" I asked, somewhat surprised not to notice the boy. "Man 3, it seems we have to take care of a nuisance," he said, annoyed when he saw Izuku. "Man 2, be careful, Basara is the strongest vigilant," he said with a serious look. Izuku, "Oh, you know me, that prevents me from introducing myself," he said simply. In a moment Izuku had appeared in front of the guys hitting them, but he couldn't knock out 2 of them who activated their quirk. "Man 1, now you'll see," while activating his quirk. "Man 2, don't jump yet," yells at Man 1. Man 1, with his quirk activated, he went straight for Izuku. To which Izuku just smiled, as it would be very easy to defeat these guys. "Man 1, fireball," screamed while throwing the ball at Izuku. "Izuku, banishing shift," he said in a whisper. It was possible to see how the green light illuminated the place, which alerted a heroine who was walking around the area. Man 2, chameleon, screams, activating his quirk and camouflaging himself with the place. Izuku saw this, but didn't give it any importance because Basara taught him how to detect invisible enemies or those that could camouflage themselves with their surroundings. Flashback. "Basara, I'll teach you how to locate hiding enemies." Izuku, "And how do I do that?" I asked with some doubt about what Basara said. "Basara, just close your eyes and concentrate, don't try to guess," he said while throwing a punch at him. Izuku, "It hurts," he said with a grimace of annoyance and pain. Basara, "I already told you, don't try to guess, try to feel their intention. In a moment of attack we release or emit an aura or intention. This can be both good or bad," he said with a smile. After several weeks Izuku managed to dodge Basara's blows. "Basara, you've improved a lot, I congratulate you." Izuku, "It was difficult at first, but your hits hurt a lot," he said while crying comically. End of flashback. With Izuku he closed his eyes and concentrated like in the training he had with Basara. Izuku, "He will attack from behind," to which Izuku jumps and gives him a spinning kick, knocking out the man. Man 1, no, because you had to show up," he said angrily. Izuku, "Because I want some trouble," he said with a serious look while saying that to the guy. At the moment Izuku attacked, an attack came out, which the brown-haired man was able to dodge and step back to realize that she was a heroine. "I couldn't give it to both of them," he said with annoyance. The heroine was surprised when she realized who it was, as it was the vigilante Basara. Izuku, "Who is she? Doesn't she look like any top heroine?" he said in his mind, confused. To which Izuku asks, "Izuku, who are you?" while taking out Brynhildr. "I am Nehire Hado, aspiring hero," she said with a big smile and determination. Izuku, "My work here is done," he said as he began to leave. Izuku, "My work here is over," he said as he began to leave. But he was surprised to see an attack from the light blue-haired girl. "Nehire, where do you think you're going, villain?" said in battle pose. Izuku, "I'm not a villain, I'm a vigilante," he said with a little anger at what the light blue-haired girl told him. And that you see the top heroes appear next to Izuku. "Ifrit Hisashi, we finally found you, Basara," he said while having a serious look. "Mount Lady, we'll catch you today." "Mirko, I hope at least we have fun." "Kamui, today will be your end and we will take you to Tartarus." "Ryukyu, Nehire, thanks for warning us, be careful." "Hawks, they talk too much instead of attacking him, don't you think?" he said looking at the other heroes surrounding the brown-haired man. "Endeavor, it's time to capture you, even though you've helped us we have to stop you," he said seriously, ready to attack. Izuku, "The top heroes, huh?" he said nonchalantly. "Mirko, you are too calm and confident," he said due to the guard's reaction. Izuku, "Well, we'll have fun, right? Or rather, I'll run away again," he said while looking at Nehire. In a moment of carelessness by Nehire, a man whom Izuku had defeated had taken her and the girl she saved hostage. Ryukyu, Nehire, screams worried about his student. Izuku just sighed. This was noticed by all the heroes. Izuku, Axis step, he said in a whisper. Hawks, get ready, he said, making the heroes stand on guard. Everyone was surprised to see the power that emanated from the guard, and in a moment he arrived where the man who took Nehire and the girl hostage was, hitting him and knocking him out. Izuku, are you okay? I asked the blue-haired girl. Nehire, yes, thank you, she said, surprised by the guard's action. Izuku disappeared in a green flash, appearing in front of the building where the heroes were. The heroes noticed, but before attacking, the brown-haired man said, Izuku, well heroes, it was nice to see you, too bad I can't stay to fight, he said as he disappeared in a green flash. In a cabin in the forest, a brown-haired man was seen agitated and tired from using Axe's step, but he decided to go rest while he took off the suit he had. 5-month time skip. You can see a brown-haired man thinking. Izuku, it's been almost a year since I became a vigilante. Izuku sees a huge explosion and decides to approach slowly. He sees Mirko facing and capturing some villains, which surprised Izuku with his fighting style. Izuku, interesting fighting style, but he became alert because he saw the hero Eraser. Head. Eraser, so you are the vigilante Basara, he said with his typical tone. Izuku, the same in flesh and blood, and what does the Eraser hero want with me? He said with some uncertainty. Eraser, well, what else to catch you, he said, activating his quirk. While Izuku was amazed as top heroes and the symbol of peace emerged. All Might, today we will capture you, he said with a big smile. While the other heroes came out like Ifrit, Mount Lady, Mirko, Kamui, Ryukyu, Hawks, and Endeavor. Izuku, I don't know, you get tired, right? He asked seriously. All/unison, no. As they were going to start attacking Izuku, he says in a whisper. Izuku, Banishing armor too. While his body formed a complete silver and black armor, which impressed the heroes, but the one who was most impressed. Ifrit, son, he said with a melancholic tone. The heroes heard this and were surprised. Meanwhile Izuku had heard this, but did not give it importance. Izuku, Banishing shift while launching the attack at all the heroes. Izuku decided to back away a little, when Hawks appeared next to him with a feather sword with which he attacked Izuku, and he blocked the attack at great speed. All Might, Texas Smash. Launching the attack at Izuku, causing him to crash against the building. Izuku noticed that some debris was going to fall on top of people, which he destroyed at great speed, saving people's lives. The heroes were surprised by this action. While he was fighting with the symbol of peace, and top heroes also helped so that people did not get involved. 3-hour time skip. Izuku had been fighting for 3 hours and he was already showing signs of fatigue from having used too much power. He looked exhausted as he had to defend himself from the heroes' attacks. Neither the heroes nor Izuku expected Edgeshot to join the fight. Izuku, he frowned at Edgeshot's appearance. Edgeshot, so you are the vigilante Basara, I see that you are exhausted from fighting so much, and if you rest, he said calmly. Izuku, I can do this all day, he said with noticeable agitation. In all of this the heroes make a large-scale combined attack, which would generate destruction, but the only one who would not be affected would be Izuku at the time of receiving the attack, he said. Izuku, shift Dungaro, he said to launch that attack to repel the heroes. Meanwhile, in his surroundings, a building could be seen destroyed in half, which Izuku noticed was going to fall on top of a person he already knew. That person was a light blue-haired girl who was walking through the area. Meanwhile, in his surroundings he could see a building destroyed in half, which Izuku noticed was going to fall on top of a person he already knew. That person was a light blue-haired girl who was walking through the area. Nehire, an explosion, she said, surprised while looking up. Izuku, shit. He screamed angrily. Nehire, I have to protect the people, she said to launch several attacks that would have no effect on the building. Nehire, desperate to stop the building, could not find a way, until she saw a certain brown-haired man standing in front of her still in his armor while saying, Izuku, Banishing shift, he said while launching the attack. Izuku, seeing that he didn't destroy the building completely, used another technique, while taking a breath because of how tired he was, he said. Izuku, shift bomb, while Izuku made 2 dry cuts in the 2 parts of the building, exploding into small pieces without causing harm to people. Nehire was surprised, but noticed that he was very tired and thought it was because of the skills he had used. However, the heroes who were fighting with Izuku arrived where he was. Izuku, if you give me a little break we can continue, he said, trying to compose his breathing. The heroes noticed that Nehire was there and did not want to attack so as not to endanger the light blue-haired girl until she spoke. Nehire, what's going on? She asked, confused. Ryukyu, we were fighting with Vigilante Basara for more than 3 hours, but I think it's the end. Nehire was surprised because as the Vigilante Basara could fight with the top heroes and the symbol of peace for more than 3 hours. Izuku was about to speak, but was knocked out by an attack on Neihire's back, which caused the heroes to take Izuku for questioning. A brown-haired man can be seen sitting in a chair and handcuffed while showing signs of waking up. "Izuku, where am I?" he said, confused when he saw the place where he was. "You are in a surveillance room," he said with a serious tone. "Izuku, and who are you? What am I doing here?" he said, annoyed when he realized he was handcuffed. "I am Detective Naomasa Tsukuchi and you are in an interrogation room. Don't even think about escaping since there are several heroes behind the glass," he said, pointing with his thumb backwards. Izuku closed his eyes and felt several presences behind the glass and realized that they were the heroes he had fought and was a little surprised to see Neihire there too. "Izuku, and what are they going to do to me?" I asked Detective Tsukuchi. "Tsukuchi, we want to know why you became a vigilante," she said, looking at the boy. "Izuku, I became a vigilante to gain combat experience and all that, before taking the UA exam, but I passed and I didn't know when the exams were since I don't live in the city," he said nonchalantly. "Tsukuchi, I understand we were going to take you to Tartarus, but 2 people said no and one of them wants to talk to you," he said with uncertainty. "Izuku, and I guess it should be in this room behind the glass, right?" he said with a serious look. "Tsukuchi, yes, I'm already looking for him so you can meet him and talk to him," while he stood up and opened the door, so that someone could come in. Izuku, realizing who he wanted to talk to, smiled slightly, but before the person spoke he said, "Izuku, let's get straight to the point, Nezu, or should I say director of the UA," he said simply. "Nezu, well that saves me several words, I wanted to offer you a deal, Basara," he said with a smile. "Izuku, deal?" asked confused. "Nezu, yes, I want you to enter the UA." This surprised Izuku, but he spoke. "Izuku, I don't know," he said with a mocking tone. Nezu, he knows he's in no position to refuse, it's either that or go to Tartarus. "Izuku, and you are aware of who I am?" he asked while releasing a murderous intent. "Nezu, you can't use your quirk, you have handcuffs that don't allow you to activate it." Izuku smiled, as this was observed by everyone. "Izuku, do you really think handcuffs will stop me?" he said in a sarcastic tone. "Nezu, what do you mean?" I asked, confused and with some fear. Izuku, hearing this, broke the handcuffs and took them off, saying, "Izuku, I mean this," showing that he had broken free. Nezu was surprised by what he did. With just brute force he easily broke the chains, but he said, "Nezu, but aren't we just the top heroes and the symbol of peace?" he said confidently. Izuku, seeing what he said, replied, "Izuku, and? Right now I have the power necessary to be able to escape," he said seriously, looking at Nezu. Nezu, seeing that he was in a difficult situation, said, "Nezu, getting back to the topic, do you accept the deal or not?" he asked again and waited for the brown-haired man's response. Izuku thought carefully about his answer, since he had enough power to escape, but he would have to endure several blows and wounds from the heroes, so he sighed and said, "Izuku, I accept, but with 3 conditions," he said, looking at Nezu. "Nezu, what are those conditions?" I asked the boy. "Izuku, first condition, I want a gym for myself, second condition, that I can go with the clothes I want, and third condition, in case I have a relationship or a harem." "This is allowed," the brown-haired man said seriously, waiting for Nezu's answer. "Nezu, I accept, but you will have to take a test," he said, smiling at the boy. "Izuku, and what kind of test would it be?" I asked Nezu, somewhat uneasy. "Nezu, you'll have to fight 5 robots and then fight the big 3, he said excitedly. "Izuku, okay, when would I have to take the test?" he said simply and more calmly. "Nezu, if you want we can do it today, however you prefer," he said in his typical tone. "Izuku, okay, then I'll accompany you to do it today," he said with a sigh. 2-hour time skip. You can see a boy who is 1.86 tall, walking with the director and some top heroes. Some students were surprised to see this. "Nezu, good time for you to face the 5 robots." Izuku, he headed to the place that Nezu indicated. "I'm going to finish this quickly," he said in his thoughts. On the surveillance camera you can see the top heroes and symbol of peace watching attentively, while Nezu pressed a button, and when he pressed it, 5 gigantic robots came out. "Izuku, they have quite a budget," he said, amazed by the whole place and the robots. "Nezu on the horn, it begins," he said to give the signal to the brown-haired man. Izuku, seeing the robots approaching, would say in a whisper, "Izuku, banishing shift," throwing the attack at the first robot, splitting it in half. After defeating 3 robots, he said in another whisper, "Izuku, Shift Dungaro. The attack was launched on the two missing robots, destroying them. In the surveillance camera, everyone was surprised by the brown-haired man's power. Despite having fought with the top heroes and symbol of peace, he still had the power to perform his abilities. After that, Izuku walked away and went to where everyone was and said, "Izuku, okay, next test," said bored. Nezu called for the big three and Izuku was surprised to see Nehire being part of this group. "So we're going to fight with you, it's a pleasure, I'm Mirio Tagata," he said with a big smile. "I want to go now, but well, I am Tamaki a Majiki," he said with a depressive aura. Nehire, "Well, you and I already know each other, but I will introduce myself again. I am Hato Nehire," she said enthusiastically. "Already on the battlefield." Mirio, "Nehire, what do you know about him?" he said with doubt. Nehire, "I only know that he is too strong, since he is the vigilante Basara," she said in her carefree tone. Mirio and Tamaki were surprised to learn this. Meanwhile with Izuku, "Well, I think I'll finish this quickly." "Nezu, begin," he said to start the fight. Izuku would say in a whisper. Izuku, "Banishing full complete. I don't control it 100%, but it will do to finish this in 30 seconds, he thought in his mind. In a moment Izuku at a surprising speed had knocked out Nehire and Tamaki, without them being able to react, in Izuku's mind. Izuku, 10 seconds, he thought to look at Mirio. Mirio, "What speed and what strength," he said with enthusiasm. Izuku, "And that's without even using my sword," he said simply, disappearing in a green flash to knock out Mirio. All the heroes were surprised by the boy's new power and realized that he did not fight them with all his power. When they realized such power, they thought that maybe he was incomplete and that was why he did not use it. Nezu, "That was impressive, young Basara." Izuku, "My name is Izuku Tojo." Nezu, "Well, young Tojo, your conditions will be met and your class will be 2A, your teacher is Aizawa." Aizawa, "Come on, let's go to the classroom," he said with his typical tone. Izuku followed him and told him to wait outside while Aizawa silenced the class. Aizawa, "Shut up, I came to give you some news. You'll have a new partner." "A new partner?" At this point Sensei said someone with doubt of what his teacher said. Aizawa, "Yes, go ahead," he said in his usual tone. Aizawa, "Yes, come on in," he said in his usual tone. Upon entering, Izuku recognized 5 people and they were Bakugo, Todoroki, Kirishima, Izumi, and Takagi. Izuku, "Hello, my name is Izuku Tojo, but you will recognize me more by the name of Basara," he said carefree. Which alarmed many of those in the room, as they did not expect to have the strongest guard in their room as a companion. All/unison, "What?" they all said surprised. "Stop lying, Deku," someone said with a little annoyance. "If Izu bro says that kind of joke, it's not funny," said one carefree. "After a long time without seeing each other and you come to make that kind of jokes, Izuku?" "Oni-chan," she said surprised. "Brother," he said surprised. The whole class and Aizawa were surprised, to which he asks. Aizawa, "You know them?" I asked with a tone of surprise. Izuku, "Of course I know them. First, that one is the Muslim," he said pointing at Bakugo. Izuku, "That's the teapot," he said pointing at Todoroki. Izuku, "And finally that's Tabaransan," he said to point at Kirishima. Everyone laughed at the nicknames the brown-haired boy gave his friends. Aizawa, "And what about those two?" he said pointing to 2 green-haired men. Izuku, "Ah, she's my sister Izumi Midoriya," he said pointing at her. Izuku, "Ah, she's my sister Izumi Midoriya," he said to point at her. Izuku, "And he is my brother Takagi Midoriya," he said simply. This surprised everyone. They didn't expect that the strongest vigilante had 2 younger brothers. Bakugo, "Hey nerd, who are you calling a Muslim?" he said making small explosions in his hands. Todoroki, "If you call me teapot again, you won't count it," he said activating both of his sides. Kirishima, "I'm not a little shark," he said while laughing at the action of his 2 companions. Izuku, "But don't be angry, because he's not coming to greet his friend," he said in a mocking tone. Bakugo, "Shine," while launching himself at Izuku. Todoroki, "You're not getting out of this, Izuku," he said with a little annoyance. Kirishima, "Control yourselves, you're going to hurt him," he said worried about the brown-haired boy. At one point Izuku disappears and surprises everyone by sitting in Bakugo's seat while saying, "Izuku, they haven't changed at all," he said looking at his 3 friends. At that moment Aizawa asks Izuku. Aizawa, "Since when do you know each other?" I ask confused. Izuku, "I have known them since I was little, They helped me and defended me from others when I had not yet awakened my quirk, he said with some melancholy. But from one moment to the next he is hugged by two green-haired boys. Oni-chan, I thought you were dead, he said as he began to cry. Brother, where have you been? Why didn't you come to visit or give a sign of life? I asked while holding back my tears. This surprised Izuku's three friends as they thought the brown-haired brothers would act or react differently. Izuku, yeah, everything's okay now, Izumi and Takagi, he said while caressing their heads. Izumi, you have a lot of explaining to do, while pouting. Takagi, we have to tell our parents, he said excitedly. Izuku, regarding that, your father already knows, he said seriously. This answer surprised the two green-haired men. Izumi, because you say our father, he is also yours, she said impressed. Izuku, don't worry, I'll tell you everything later, for now we're going to let Aizawa continue the class, he said to look at his sensei. The two green-haired men did as they were told and returned to their seats. Meanwhile Todoroki, Bakugo and Kirishima were a little confused by what the brown-haired man had said, but they decided to ask him later. Time skip of 1 hour. All Might, I'm entering like a normal person while opening the door and with his usual smile. A drop of anime-style sweat broke out on everyone. All Might, there's going to be combat training, he said excitedly. Combat training? He said confused. All Might, yes young Lita, now everyone go put on your hero costumes, he said excitedly. Everyone went to change when someone noticed a hole in the wall, where you could see the changing room where the girls were. Guys, look, this was surely left by our senpais, we have to take advantage of it, while drool came out of his mouth. Kirishima, that's not a man's thing, Mineta, he said so his friend would stop spying on the girls. Mineta, oh, that doesn't matter, I want to see the girls' bodies, especially Momo and Izumi's, he said with a perverted look. To which a brown-haired boy gets angry and begins to release murderous instinct. Bakugo/Todoroki/Kirishima, that guy is already dead, they just haven't warned him, the three of them said in their minds, while looking at Izuku. But they didn't notice that Takagi was also angry, but he didn't want to cause trouble and kept quiet. Izuku, so you want to see my sister's body and the other girls? I think I have to teach you a lesson, don't I, Mineta, he said with a smile and a murderous look. Meanwhile with the girls. Did you see that he defended us? One of the girls said due to the brown-haired boy's action. Izumi, Oni-chan protected me, how good, she thought in her mind while laughing a little. Your brother is a good person, but what did he mean when he said your father? A girl asked with confusion. Izumi, that's something he'll tell later because I don't even know what he meant. Back with Izuku, the brown-haired man can be seen embedding Mineta in the wall while saying, Izuku, be careful not to do anything perverted to some girl and to you too, he said while pointing at a boy. Me, why me? Also, I have a name and my name is Denki Kaminari, he said a little annoyed. Izuku, okay Kaminari, be careful not to do anything perverted to the girls, he said angrily at what his classmates tried to do. After all the fuss they went to the training camp, except for Izuku who went to look for his suit that he had forgotten. All Might, well let's start, he said excitedly. Izumi, wait All Might, my Oni-chan is missing, she said this to see where her brother was. Izuku, sorry I'm late, I got lost on the path of life, he said with a smile. Todoroki/Kirishima/Izumi/Takagi, your suit looks good, Izuku/Izu bro/Oni-chan/brother, they said in amazement at their partner and brother's suit. Izuku, does it really look good? I asked sarcastically. Izuku's outfit is like this. Bakugo, it looks ugly, mine is better, he said making mini explosions in his hands. All Might, well, now everyone is ready to fight against young Izuku, he said simply. Lita, don't you think it's too much? He said worried about his partner. Izuku, if All Might is unfair, they are at a disadvantage, he said carefree. To which the entire class 1A broke out in an anime-style sweat drop. All Might, calm down young Izuku, you won't be able to use Banishing full complete, understood, he said to the brown-haired man. Izuku, it's okay, it takes the fun out of life, he said something boring. Already on the platform everyone was in a fighting stance and devising a plan to defeat Izuku, which he said in a whisper. Izuku, Banishing armor too, he said in a whisper. Everyone was shocked by the incredible power that Izuku emanated, to which All Might said. All Might, start the battle, he said shouting with excitement. All Might, start the battle, he said shouting with excitement. At that point everyone attacked the brown-haired man, but he had defeated 6 of them in a moment and without any effort. Bakugo, I'm not like the others, he said while launching an explosion. Izuku would dodge the explosion, but he didn't expect an ice attack. At that point, the brown-haired man took out his sword and turned on his own axis, avoiding the ice attack. Todoroki, oh, you managed to dodge my attack, he said, impressed. Kirishima, here I come, Izu bro, he said to harden his body. Bakugo, Todoroki and Kirishima were fighting against the brown-haired boy, but they seemed a little tired and apparently realized that Izuku was holding back, which annoyed Bakugo and Todoroki. At that point his brothers launch an attack on him with their quirks. Note, Izumi's quirk is hydrokinesis and Takagi's is aerokinesis. Izumi, water bullet, she said while launching the attack. Takagi, tornado, he said while launching the attack on his brother. Izuku, realizing this, would say in a whisper. Izuku, banishing shift, he said while launching the attack. Everyone was surprised because he eliminated his brother's attacks in one move. Izuku, I think it's time to end this, he said while stopping holding back. At one point the brown-haired man disappeared in a green flash, knocking out most of them and leaving only Bakugo, Todoroki, Kirishima, Izumi, and Takagi. Izuku, well, it's time to finish this, he said while preparing an attack which he limited so as not to cause serious injuries. Everyone was ready to begin, while the brown-haired boy took out his sword and in a whisper he would say. Izuku, shift Dungaro, he said to launch the attack on his companions. While Todoroki created an ice dome, Izumi a wall of water and Takagi an air shield, but unfortunately this was not enough to stop the brown-haired man's attack. Izuku, I think I went too far, he said, worried about his brothers. All Might, the winner is young Izuku, he said in his typical tone. Meanwhile Izuku would take Recovery Girl to the infirmary. Recovery Girl, okay boy, they'll wake up in a few minutes. The old woman said to the brown-haired man. Izuku just nodded. In that you see three people getting up, which were Todoroki, Bakugo, and Kirishima. Todoroki, you are very strong, Izuku, he said with a smile. Bakugo, it was just luck that you beat me, he said with annoyance for having lost. Kirishima, yes, Izu bro, you are very strong, I want you to teach me. From what I saw you know some martial arts, he said enthusiastically. Izuku, yes, martial arts, if you have already woken up you can go, he said carefree. Kirishima, you're not coming with us? I asked confused. Izuku, no, I'll wait for my little brothers to wake up, he said with a smile. The three of them previously mentioned left to leave a brown-haired boy, waiting for some green-haired boys to wake up. That's when Izumi wakes up. Izumi, where am I? She said, confused about the place. Izuku, you're in the infirmary. It seems I went a little overboard, even though I held back quite a bit, he said simply. Izumi would throw herself at Izuku because she hadn't seen her brother for a while and accidentally knocked the brown-haired boy down, leaving Izumi in an embarrassing position. Izumi, sorry Oni-chan, she said with a slight blush. Meanwhile, Takagi got up and noticed what was happening and decided to make fun of Izumi. Takagi, we barely met our brother and you already want to do perverted things to him, she said in a mocking tone. Izuku, stop bothering her while hitting her on the head, he said while smiling. Izumi was blushing deeply at what her other brother had said. Izuku, okay, let's go, I'll accompany you home, he said so that his brothers would follow him. Izumi, Oni-chan, you are very strong, she said, remembering her brother's strength. Takagi, yes, how could you eliminate our abilities and go through them? He said, impressed by such power. Izuku, but you are also strong, you just have to improve, he said simply. Izumi, Oni-chan, would you help me train? She said, making puppy eyes. Takagi, same to me, brother, he said, waiting for his brother's answer. Izumi, why do you want to train with Oni-chan? Takagi, if you already train with Todoroki and Kirishima. She said, a little angry. Takagi, but if you train with the girls, what's wrong with that? He said with annoyance. Izuku, stop fighting, let's set the days where I will train with each one, and that's it, he said seriously and annoyed because his brothers fought a lot. This was noticed by the green-haired men who apologized for having been fighting all this time. Izuku, yeah, everything's fine now, but try to get along, he said sighing. They had already arrived at the house. The green-haired brothers insisted that the brown-haired boy come into the house, which he accepted. Inko was shocked to see the brown-haired boy and dropped what she had in her hand. Hisashi came out to see what happened and was surprised and said. Hisashi, son, he said while having a sad voice. Inko, you came back while holding back tears. Izuku, I didn't come back, I just passed by because they asked me to, he said seriously with a cold look. Hisashi, what do you mean you didn't come back? He said to the surprised man. Izuku, they invited me in and I just accepted, he said seriously while pointing at his brothers. Inko, but let's talk, please, she said sobbing. Izumi, Oni-chan, forgive them, she said, worried about the brown-haired boy's attitude. Takagi, if you try to talk things over with them, she said with a little fear of her brother's attitude. Izuku, we'll talk, but I won't turn around and you won't bother me anymore, he said this cold. Everyone at that moment went to the living room and sat down, but there was an awkward silence that was broken by Izumi. Izumi, and what are they going to talk about, Oni-chan? She asks her father with doubts. Inko, about things from the past, son, I want you to forgive me. I regretted what I did to you a few years ago. The green-haired girl said sadly. Flashback. Izuku, Mom, why do you hit me? He said crying. Inko, shut up, I'm not your mother. Izuku, why do they call me useless, tell me, Ma. He was interrupted by a punch from his mother and father. Inko, we already told you to go to your damn useless room. End of flashback. Hisashi, I'm also sorry for what I did to you years ago, he said sadly, lowering his head. Izumi, what are you talking about? I asked because they didn't understand anything. Takagi, if it's true, what do they mean? What do they regret? He said with doubts. Izuku, I have already forgiven him, but that does not mean that I will return with you. I no longer see you as my parents, he said to leave everyone surprised. Izumi, Oni-chan, what do you mean, she said to get out of shock. Izuku, when I went to see what my quirk was at age 4, I was diagnosed with quirkless. When I got home, Inko hit me and then Hisashi, having found out that his eldest son didn't have a quirk, instead of supporting him, they hit him. At school it was the same. However, there were 3 people who defended me, Kirishima, Todoroki, and Bakugo. They didn't always do it, but they helped so I wouldn't get hurt so much. One day after a beating that 3 boys gave me, when I got home I got hit and when I woke up I found myself in a forest. He said to finish telling. Izumi and Takagi were shocked, they didn't know their brother had suffered. Izumi, but at school you showed your quirk, she said with confusion. Izuku, it's another story, which I'm not going to tell you, you don't have to know that, he said seriously. Takagi didn't want to say anything and just stayed quiet, and Izumi was crying because of what happened to her brother and his attitude towards her. Inko, what do we have to do to get you back? She said, worried and crying. Hisashi, yes, we will do whatever, please, he said desperately so as not to lose his son. Izuku, you have nothing to do, because I will not return with you, let it be clear to you, I am not your son, I am Izuku Tojo, he said while getting up from the sofa. Izuku was about to leave when he was stopped by a hand, and it was Izumi. Izumi, we have to keep talking and clear things up, she said while crying. Izuku, we have nothing to talk about, because we already talked about it, see you at UA, he said as they left the Midoriya house. While in the house there was an awkward silence that was broken by Takagi. Takagi, why did they do that to him? I ask about what was previously revealed. Inko/Hisashi, we were shocked that our first child didn't have a quirk and so we hit him. There was another awkward silence, but in the end they decided to go to sleep. While a brown-haired man was sitting on top of a building, as he had helped several people from some villains. Izuku, I think it's time to go, he said while heading to his house.